Gone. Before I tell you how a young woman with dreams of international modeling ended up as a ransom demand for her own cremated remains, I need you to do something. Type where you're watching this from right now. Just your city or country. Because what happened to Vera could happen anywhere, to anyone. And I need you to understand that this isn't some distant horror story. This is happening right now, in our world, and geography is no protection. Drop your location in the comments. Let's see how global this audience really is. Now, let me take you back to September 2025, when everything was still possible, when Vera's future still stretched out before her, bright and full of promise. Vera Kravtsova wasn't just dreaming, she was doing. At 26, she'd already established herself in Belarus's modeling scene, building a portfolio, making connections, showing up to every casting call with the kind of hunger that separates people who wish from people who achieve. But Belarus, as beautiful as it is, has limitations. The real opportunities, the international campaigns, the career-defining moments, those happen elsewhere. Bangkok, Singapore, Milan, New York, places where a face can become a brand, where a model can become a name. So when the offer came through in early September, Vera didn't hesitate. Thailand, a professional modeling contract, international exposure, everything she'd been working toward, handed to her in a single opportunity. The agency seemed legitimate. The contract looked professional. The flight tickets were real. Her family was nervous, of course. Parents always are when their children venture into the unknown. But this was Vera's moment. This was the door she'd been knocking on for years, finally swinging open. On September 12, 2025, Vera Kravtsova walked through Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, her carry-on filled with carefully chosen outfits, her phone loaded with maps and translation apps, her heart hammering with that specific cocktail of terror and excitement that comes with chasing something bigger than yourself. The CCTV footage shows her moving through immigration with ease. No signs of distress. No indication that anything was wrong. She cleared customs, collected her luggage, and walked into the arrivals hall like thousands of other travelers that day. Normal, routine, unremarkable. This is what makes what happened next so terrifying. Because Vera wasn't grabbed off the street. She wasn't drugged in a dark alley. She wasn't a victim of some obvious, violent crime that bystanders could have prevented. She walked willingly into what came next, believing she was walking toward her future. For 8 days, Vera was in Thailand. We know this because immigration records don't lie. We know this because her phone pinged off cell towers in Bangkok. We know this because everything, on paper, appeared completely normal. She checked into her accommodation. She made contact with the agency. She prepared for whatever assignments were coming. Her family received messages. Short, cheerful updates. Everything's great. The city is amazing. I'll call you soon. The kind of messages every parent of a traveling child wants to receive. And then, on September 20th, 2025, Vera left Thailand. Not back to Belarus. Not to another major city with a thriving modeling industry. To Yangon, Myanmar. Let that sink in for a moment. Myanmar, a country currently experiencing significant political instability. A country where certain regions have become notorious for something far darker than anyone wants to discuss publicly. Scam compounds, human trafficking centers, places where people arrive expecting jobs and discover they've been sold into something unspeakable. The CCTV footage from the airport shows Vera passing through the automated gates alone, walking with purpose. No visible restraints. No armed guards. Just a young woman boarding a flight, apparently of her own free will. This is the last confirmed visual evidence of Vera Kravtsova alive and free. After September 20th, the messages stopped. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious, too alarming. They tapered off, became less frequent, less detailed, busy with work. Will call when I can. Then nothing. Her mother tried calling, straight to voicemail. She tried messaging, delivered but not read. She tried Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, every digital avenue that connects our modern world. Silence. By early October, the silence had become deafening. Vera's family did what any terrified family would do. They contacted the Belarusian authorities. They reached out to the embassy. They posted on social media, asking if anyone had seen her, heard from her, knew anything. The post spread. Other Belarusian nationals shared them. International media picked up the story. And slowly, horribly, a picture began to emerge. Vera wasn't the only one. There were others. Young people, mostly, lured by promises of legitimate work. Modeling contracts. Customer service positions. Tech jobs. All roads leading to the same destination. Myanmar. Specifically, to certain regions of Myanmar where the rule of law is negotiable and human life has become a commodity. If you're feeling that knot forming in your stomach right now, that growing sense of dread, good. That means you're human. That means you understand what's coming. But before we go further, I need you to do something. Hit that like button. Not for me, for Vera. Because every like pushes this story further into the algorithm, into more feeds, in front of more eyes. And maybe, just maybe, someone watching this knows something. Someone watching this has information. Someone watching this can help. So like this video. Right now. And then keep watching, because what happened next is where the story goes from missing person case to something far, far worse. The international media reports started carefully. Young Belarusian model missing in Myanmar. Concerns grow for woman last seen in Yangon. But within days, the careful language evaporated, replaced by something more urgent, more horrifying. Model allegedly held in scam compound. Reports suggest organs harvested before cremation. Family receives ransom demand for ashes. $500,000. For ashes, not for Vera. For what remained after everything valuable had been taken. The report suggested that Vera had been working, or more accurately, had been forced to work in one of Myanmar's online scam centers. These aren't small operations. These are industrial-scale fraud compounds, employing or rather imprisoning hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. Their job is simple. Sit at computers, run romance scams, cryptocurrency fraud, investment schemes, catfish lonely people around the world, and extract money from them. The workers are beaten if they don't meet quotas. They're starved. They're tortured. They're sold to other compounds if they become too troublesome. And if they try to escape, if they become too sick to work, if they're simply no longer useful, well, that's when the truly nightmarish aspect of these operations come into play. According to the reports surrounding Vera's case, she didn't last long in the compound. Maybe she resisted too hard. Maybe she refused to participate in the scams. Maybe she got sick. We don't know. What the report suggested was that Vera died, whether from violence, neglect, or something else, and then, in a final act of absolute depravity, her body was harvested, organs removed, sold on the black market, where a kidney can fetch tens of thousands of dollars, where a liver can set up a criminal operation for months. Then cremation, evidence destroyed, a person reduced to ash, and then the call to her family. The demand, the price tag on their daughter's remains. Now, I need to pause here and be very clear about something. These reports, as widespread as they became, as much as they dominated headlines, have not been fully confirmed by independent authorities. The Belarusian government has called for investigation. The Thai government has insisted that nothing happened on their soil, that Vera left Bangkok freely and safely. The Myanmar authorities have stated that investigations are ongoing, but have not confirmed the specific details about organs or cremation. So we're dealing with a case where the allegations are horrifying, the circumstantial evidence is compelling, but the hard proof, the kind that will hold up in an international court, remains elusive. And that's almost worse, isn't it? Because it means Vera's family is stuck in this hell of not knowing, of having reports and rumors and horrifying possibilities, but no bodies, no closure, no justice. Just that terrible ransom demand hanging over them like a sword. What we do know, what is confirmed and documented, is this. Vera arrived in Bangkok on September 12th. She left for Yangon on September 20th. Her communication ceased shortly after. Her family lost all contact. International media reported she was in a scam compound. Reports emerged claiming she had died and been harvested for organs. A ransom demand was made for her ashes. Myanmar confirmed that investigations were ongoing, but provided no specific details. Thailand maintained that nothing criminal occurred in their jurisdiction. And Vera Kravtsova, 26 years old, full of dreams and ambition, simply vanished from the world. Now think about that for a second. Really think about it. A young woman gets on a plane expecting to start a career, and within weeks, she's potentially been trafficked, murdered, and dismembered for parts. And 3 different countries are all pointing fingers at each other's jurisdictions, while her family screams into the void for answers. This is where I need you to comment. Not just your location this time. I need your theory. What do you think happened to Vera? Do you believe the organ harvesting reports? Do you think this was a tragic accident that got sensationalized? Do you think she might still be alive somewhere, held in some compound, with her family being scammed by people pretending to hold her remains? Drop your theory in the comments. Be respectful, be thoughtful, but be honest. What do you think happened? Because here's where the story gets even more complicated, even more disturbing. Vera's case isn't unique. It's not even rare. Every year, thousands of people, mostly young, mostly from developing nations or economically struggling regions, are lured abroad with promises of legitimate work. The patterns are almost identical. Professional-looking contracts, real plane tickets, legitimate-seeming agencies. Sometimes the victims even make it to their destinations and work for a few days or weeks before the trap closes. They're taken to compounds in remote areas. Their passports are confiscated. Their phones are taken or monitored. They're told they owe money for their transportation, their accommodation, their food, debts that can never be repaid. And then they're put to work. Scamming, prostitution, drug trafficking, whatever generates money for their captors. The scam compound industry in Southeast Asia has exploded in recent years. Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, parts of the Philippines, all have become hubs for these operations. The compounds operate with near impunity in some regions, especially in areas with weak governance or active conflict. Local authorities are sometimes complicit, paid off to look the other way. Sometimes they're simply overwhelmed, lacking resources to take on operations that function like small militarized states. And the victims? They disappear into these black holes, and their families are left exactly where Vera's family is now, desperate, helpless, watching from thousands of miles away as their loved ones vanish into a system designed to consume people and spit out nothing but profit. The thing that makes Vera's case particularly haunting is how normal everything seemed at first. She wasn't traveling on some sketchy, too-good-to-be-true offer. She was a working model, taking what appeared to be a legitimate contract. She flew into a major international airport. She passed through immigration with proper documentation. For 8 days, she was in one of Southeast Asia's major tourist destinations, a city that millions of people visit safely every year. And then, somewhere between Bangkok and Yangon, between September 20th and early October, something went catastrophically wrong. Was it the agency that booked her? Were they the traffickers? Or were they duped too? Was there someone waiting for her in Bangkok? Someone who gained her trust and convinced her that Myanmar was the next step? Did she realize at some point that she made a terrible mistake? Did she try to run? Did she fight? Or did everything happen so quickly that she never had a chance to understand what was happening until it was far too late? These questions haunt her family every single day. They haunt the investigators who are trying to piece together what happened. And they should haunt all of us, because this is the world we've built, a world where international travel is easier than ever, where opportunities cross borders with a single click, but where the systems meant to protect people haven't kept pace with the systems designed to exploit them. Subscribe to this channel. I don't say that lightly. I'm not trying to hit some arbitrary number. I'm asking you to subscribe because cases like Vera's need attention. They need eyes. They need people who care enough to watch, to share, to keep these stories alive until answers come. So subscribe, and then keep watching, because we're about to dive into the investigation, into what the 3 countries involved have said and haven't said, and into the broader network that makes tragedies like this possible. Thailand's response to Vera's case was swift and defensive. Their immigration authorities released a statement confirming that Vera Kravtsova entered Thailand legally on September 12th and departed legally on September 20th. They provided CCTV evidence showing her moving through the airport independently, with no signs of coercion or distress. Their message was clear. Whatever happened to Vera, it didn't happen on Thai soil. And technically, they might be right. There's no evidence of a crime committed in Thailand. No evidence that Vera was kidnapped or held against her will during her 8 days in Bangkok. But here's the question that Thailand's response doesn't address. What happened during those 8 days that convinced a young woman to board a flight to Myanmar? Because that's the key, isn't it? That's the moment where everything changed. Something or someone in Bangkok convinced Vera that Yangon was her next destination. Was it the agency that hired her, telling her the actual modeling work was based in Myanmar? Was it a handler, someone who befriended her and sold her on a different opportunity? Was it coercion disguised as persuasion? Threats wrapped in professional language? We don't know. And Thailand's, not our problem, stance doesn't help us find out. Myanmar's response has been even more opaque. Their government confirmed that they're investigating reports of foreign nationals being held in scam compounds. They've acknowledged that these operations exist and that they're working to shut them down. But specific details about Vera, about whether she was found, whether her death was confirmed, whether the organ harvesting claims have any basis. Silence. Part of this is likely due to Myanmar's current situation. The country is dealing with ongoing civil conflict, with some regions effectively outside central government control. The areas where scam compounds are known to operate are often in these contested zones, run by armed groups that function as quasi-governments. For Myanmar's authorities to investigate, they need to access these areas, which may be difficult or impossible given the current security situation. But the result is the same. Vera's family gets no answers, no confirmation, no closure. Belarus, meanwhile, has been more vocal. They've demanded information from both Thailand and Myanmar. They've involved their embassy. They've made Vera's case a matter of public record and international concern. But demands are one thing. Results are another. And so far, results have been non-existent. This is the nightmare of international jurisdiction. When a crime potentially spans multiple countries, who investigates? Who has authority? If Vera was trafficked in Thailand, but the trafficking wasn't technically complete until she reached Myanmar, whose laws apply? If she was killed in Myanmar, but the people who arranged her travel were based elsewhere, who prosecutes? These aren't academic questions. They're the brick walls that Vera's family is running into every single day. They're the reasons why cases like this can drag on for years without resolution. They're why traffickers continue to operate with relative impunity, because they know that operating across borders provides a layer of protection that's almost impossible to penetrate. Now, let's talk about those organ harvesting claims, because they're the most sensational part of this story, and they're also the part with the least confirmation. The black market for organs is real. That's not conspiracy theory. That's documented fact. People die waiting for transplants, and where there's desperate demand, there's someone willing to supply, regardless of ethics or legality. China has faced allegations for years about organs harvested from prisoners. There have been documented cases in India, Pakistan, and parts of Eastern Europe of people being lured or forced into giving up kidneys. The global organ trade is worth billions of dollars and operates in the shadows of legitimate medicine, using the same techniques, the same preservation methods, but none of the ethical oversight. So could Vera's organs have been harvested and sold? Technically, yes. The infrastructure exists. The market exists. The lack of oversight in certain regions makes it possible. But here's what we need to be careful about. Sensational claims spread faster than verified facts. Models organs sold is a headline that generates clicks, shares, outrage. It's the kind of story that takes on a life of its own, growing more detailed and more horrifying with each retelling, regardless of what can actually be proven. The reports about Vera's organs came from media sources citing unnamed individuals, alleged family contacts, supposed insiders, not from medical examiners, not from law enforcement, not from anyone who could provide actual evidence. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. It means we don't know if it happened. And in a case like this, That distinction matters. Because if we focus all our attention on the most sensational claims, we might miss the actual, provable crimes that need to be addressed. Here's what we do know for certain. Scam compounds in Myanmar and surrounding countries are real. They're not urban legends or exaggerated stories. They're documented operations that have been raided by authorities, that have had victims rescued and perpetrators arrested. These compounds operate under the guise of legitimate businesses, call centers, tech companies, customer service operations. But inside, it's prison. Workers are locked in. They're forced to run online scams targeting people around the world. Romance scams, where they pose as attractive potential partners and slowly extract money from lonely victims. Investment scams, promising incredible returns on cryptocurrency or stock trades. Tech support scams, calling people and claiming their computer is infected. The victims of these scams lose millions of dollars collectively, but the workers running the scams are victims too. They're beaten if they don't meet quotas. They're tortured if they try to resist. They're sold to other compounds if they become problems. Some have escaped and told their stories. Young men and women from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from China, from dozens of countries, all lure with the same promises that brought Vera to Southeast Asia. Good pay, professional work, international opportunities. And then the trap closes. There are reports, multiple verified reports, of people dying in these compounds. From beating, from medical neglect, from suicide, when you're locked in a room, forced to work 16-hour days, beaten regularly, with no hope of escape. The human body and mind can only take so much. What happens to bodies? That's where things get murky. Some are reportedly cremated quickly, without proper death certificates or investigations. Some are returned to families, but only after ransom is paid. Some simply disappear, buried in unmarked graves or disposed of in ways no one wants to contemplate. So when reports emerged that Vera died in such a compound and that her body was then exploited further, it fit a pattern. It matched what we know about how these operations work, how they treat human beings as resources to be used up and discarded. But pattern matching isn't proof, and Vera's family deserves proof. They deserve to know exactly what happened to their daughter. Not speculation, not media reports citing unnamed sources. Facts, evidence, truth. Drop a comment right now. Do you think international authorities are doing enough to shut down these trafficking networks? Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we're not going to stop covering these cases. We're not going to let them fade into obscurity. We're going to keep Vera's name and the names of countless other victims in front of people until there's justice or at least answers. And before anyone comments about exploitation, about profiting from tragedy, understand this. Vera's story needs to be told. Silence helps traffickers. Awareness prevents future victims. Yes, this is a YouTube video. Yes, it exists within a platform that monetizes content. But every view, every share, every comment pushes this story further, gets it in front of more people who might know something, might be able to help, or might be saved from becoming the next victim. That's worth any discomfort about the medium through which the story is told. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because Vera's case isn't over. Her family continues to search for answers. Investigative journalists continue to dig into the trafficking networks operating in Myanmar. Human rights organizations continue to document cases and push for policy changes. And somewhere, maybe in some compound, maybe in some unmarked grave, maybe as ashes in an urn being held for ransom, Vera Kravtsova's remains exist. The truth exists. What happened to her, hour by hour, moment by moment, all of it exists in the memories of the people who were there, who saw it, who perpetrated it. And eventually, one way or another, truth comes out. Not always, not in every case, but often enough that we have to keep pushing for it. Enough trafficking networks have been dismantled. Enough victims have been rescued. Enough perpetrators have been prosecuted. It happens. Slowly and inadequately, but it happens. And it happens because people don't give up. Because families keep fighting. Because investigators keep digging. Because the public keeps demanding answers. You're part of that now. By watching this video. By engaging with Vera's story. You become part of the network of people who won't let this be forgotten. That's not a small thing. That matters. The final thing I want to address is hope, because it would be easy to finish this video by saying there's no hope, that Vera is certainly dead, that her family will never get answers, that the systems are too broken to ever achieve justice. But that's not true, and more importantly, it's not helpful. Hope, even realistic hope, is what keeps families searching. It's what keeps investigators working cases long after they've gone cold. It's what prevents us from giving up on the possibility that things can be better, that systems can improve, that future victims can be prevented. So yes, Vera's case looks grim. The likelihood of a positive resolution decreases with every day that passes. But we don't know for certain what happened to her. We don't know for certain that she's dead. And even if the worst is true, we don't know that her family won't eventually get answers, won't eventually get justice. Stranger things have happened. Cases that seem hopeless have broken open because someone watching a video like this recognized a detail, remembered something, connected pieces that no one else had connected. That's the power of public awareness. That's why telling these stories matters. Because you never know who's watching. You never know who might have the piece of information that changes everything. So to Vera's family, if you somehow see this, we haven't forgotten. We won't forget. Your daughter's story has reached across the world. People care. People are watching. And we'll keep watching until there are answers. To everyone else watching, remember Vera Kravtsova. Remember that she was a real person with real dreams who deserved better than what happened to her. Remember that there are systems that failed her and that those systems need to change. Remember that trafficking is not some distant problem that only happens to other people. It's happening now, everywhere, and will keep happening until enough people demand that it stop. Thank you for following Vera's story to the end. If this case moved you, if it made you angry, if it scared you, if it made you want to do something, anything to help, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss updates on Vera's case and others like it. These are stories that deserve to be heard, names that deserve to be remembered, lives that deserve justice. And share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your theory about what happened. Tell me what emotions this case brought up for you. Tell me what you think should be done to prevent future Vera's. Let's build a community of people who refuse to look away, who refuse to accept that trafficking is just an unfortunate reality we have to live with. Because it's not. It's a choice that we collectively make, either through action or through apathy. Choose action. Choose to care. Choose to be someone who makes a difference, even if that difference seems small. Every view of this video is a statement that Vera mattered. Every share is an act of resistance against the systems that consume people and expect the world to forget them. Every comment is a voice added to the chorus demanding justice and change. Be part of that chorus. And finally, if you're someone considering an international work opportunity right now, someone scrolling through job postings and dreaming of adventures abroad, please be careful. Verify everything. Stay connected to people back home. Trust your instincts. Register with your embassy. Don't let what happened to Vera happen to you. The world should be a place where young people can chase their dreams without fear. We're not there yet. But maybe, if enough people care, if enough people demand change, if enough people refuse to let victims like Vera be forgotten, we can get closer. That's the hope I'm leaving you with. Not naive optimism, but determined hope. The hope that comes from people deciding that this matters enough to fight for. Be one of those people. For Vera, for her family, for all the victims whose names we don't know, and for yourself. Because building a world that protects vulnerable people is building a world that's better for everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And please, don't let this be the end of your engagement with this issue. Let it be the beginning.